and they have the
Wax?
cone.
Oh.
They have the cone that they stick in your ear, and then you light the paper cone on fire, and the heat is supposed to draw everything out. Like, this is that same kind of, how the hell did you think that worked kind of treatment?
Yeah, I don't know. It could just be like it's a little bit of heat to something
To
that's
relax
sore,
it,
kind of makes it feel temporarily better. You know, that's why they came out with the idea of bleeding people, because it actually short term produced good results. Because you drain a bunch of blood out of somebody, he feels kind of lightheaded and kind of high.
Yeah, you're kind of hypoxic. Is that the right word?
I don't know.
No, it's
I'll
not the right
accept
word,
that one, and that's good enough for me. But but you know, and so people would go, yeah, wow, I feel kind of high, yeah, you know.
Your blood pressure's dropped.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just out of it.
And so they started thinking, hey, let's drain blood out of them. That'll make them better. And so yeah, it's hard to say how many people died from getting bled like that. I mean, there's a theory out there that George Washington was killed by his doctor because he was sick, and the doctors just kept taking blood and taking blood and taking blood. I have no idea how much he had left in him by the time he passed, but sad.
Well,
but anyway,
heat is good for certain.
But heat is good, but it's a temporary kind of fix, I think.
Well, you
maybe.
like heat up to relax the muscles to treat them. Oftentimes, right? It's not like, put some heat on it and then magically you're cured. Like your muscles are messed up. They're gonna be messed up unless you do something to them.
But this open flame treatment, this moxie, what is it? Moxibustion, which is, combustion, basically. It's going to leave a burn on the skin, so it's almost as if it's doing more damage than in the longer term.
Well, I think done right, it doesn't. It's just kind of like a heating pad, If you use a heating pad right, it's great. And if you crank it up too high and then fall asleep on top of it,
you're gonna burn yourself.
You might just get a second-degree burn or something.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. It's an open flame, so I always figure that's a bad idea. But
it's an open
we're
flame.
on a sidetrack.
Doesn't matter.
We're totally on a sidetrack. Yeah. Later on, the coroner said that Sigmund, back to our story, didn't appear starved. Apparently, he had been eating normally and drinking normally. He wasn't dehydrated or anything like that. So if somebody had had him chained up in the basement for 5 days, then at least he was being fed. There also was no immediate conclusion about the cause of death. Apparently, they had to think about it for a few months, and they finally decided that it was a heart attack that killed him. As for the cause of the burns, that's unknown. Sigmund's whereabouts for 5 days is unknown. How he wound up in that coal pile, unknown. And the mysterious green ointment, nobody knows what that was either.
They were sure it was ointment. It wasn't like a weird miscolored pus or something. That's a gross question.
They seemed to feel like it was some sort of
like
greeny,
a salve.
It wasn't greenish in the sort of pus sense. It was more like an ointment, kind of clearish, but with a tint to it, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, hopefully a doctor can tell the difference between ointment and pus.
I would hope that. Well, I guess pus probably isn't their word, but like when you get a blister and it fills up with that like clear liquid or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Because if he had a burn, it could have blistered, and it could have been the remnants of like the clear goo.
Yeah,
I don't know. It wouldn't have been green.
No, green would be a sign of a larger issue, and that would have been apparent, I would presume.
Well, larger. He was dead. So
yeah, he was dead.
There was a sign of a larger issue already.
I say, is there a larger issue? Oh, yes, there is actually.
He's dead.
Yeah.
You have an infection,
but interesting.
It's too late.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So we have theories. People have got a lot of theories about this one. The first theory. This is a big favorite out there, which is UFOs. Yeah. So Sigmund was abducted by a UFO. He died of fright from his experience, and they dropped his body on the coal pile and hightailed it out of there. And so the evidence for this is it did not appear that Sigmund had climbed the coal pile. And also,
when do you want to talk about that coal pile?
Yeah.
I have huge issues with the nobody climbed the coal pile.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I've wondered about that one too, to be honest.
Okay, finish this part, then we'll go back.
We'll talk about the evidence for this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, his last name was Adamski, and it turns out there's a very famous ufologist, or ufologist, I can't remember. Ufologist named George Adamski. I don't know if he was dead by that time or not.
He died in 1965, so
okay.
he was pretty dead.
Yeah, and so according to the papers, at least, that can't be a coincidence. So the abduction in this theory could possibly have been a case of mistaken identity.
And mistaken time.
Yeah, stupid alien. Yeah.
They looked in the phone book. There he is.
Yeah. And the aliens would account for the strange burns, too. It might be one of them in the spaceship was playing with a phased plasma rifle in the 40-watt range and maybe had a gun accident. And the ointment on the burns, of course, was unidentifiable because it was alien in origin.
Well, it could have been the neck rib, right? It could have been like a holding device that overheated and
it could have been something like that too.
Caused some burn. I don't know.
I'm just loving the idea of the aliens. Like, oh crap, we killed him. What are we gonna do?
Quick, get rid of the body.
We get rid of the body. Where are we gonna dump it? Well, it's here's a coal miner. Okay, there's a pile of coal over there. Quick, let's get out of here.
That looks like a soft place for him.
Yeah, drop him. Okay. Of course, another reason the ointment might not have been identified is the coroner didn't try too hard to. Again, I don't know how much testing they did of that. It
really doesn't sound like they tried very hard.
No, it could have been they just sort of smelled it and said, it doesn't smell like anything I know of, and that's about it.
Well, and remember, this is 1980, so it's not as if they can just stick it in the mass spectrometer or whatever it is.
It is a mass spectrometer.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Okay, I was guessing that the name, but it's not like they can just take a sample and pop it in there and figure out what its basic components is, and just like CSI go, boop, boop, boop. Oh, it's used in this and that and this and that. We know what it is. No,
well,
1980. It's
exactly.
All I know is it's this. It looks like this.
Yeah, typically, when it comes to testing for this or testing for that, it's like you have to actually be looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can't just pop it in there and then it just says, oh, it's this. You test to see if it's this, or this. And if it doesn't fall on one of those things, well, okay, we can do some more testing, or we can just say, hey, we don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, finding ointments on burns is not exactly, a big deal. It's not a huge thing.
Yeah.
But you were talking about the whole no marks on the coal pile.
Yeah, so this is the biggest load of hooey I've ever heard of.
Okay.
Okay.
Tell me more.
Joe, tell me this. Where was this coal pile located again?
It was located next to the train tracks and next to the train station.
Okay. And what do trains do when they're moving?
The trains do. They go.
Okay, well, those things are correct, but they cause a lot of vibrations in their starting and stopping processes. And if you've ever seen a pile of anything that's about the size of these coal nuggets, or something that makes a lot of vibration, those piles move. So it could very easily have been 1 and 2 trains came in and out of the station, and that was enough to soften the indentations that were done by somebody's feet.
Yeah, or a little rainfall, perhaps.
Well, and think about it. The paramedics come running up, so they've already disturbed the scene. So the fact that there's no indentations.
I was gonna say,
water.
I think they probably said to the paramedics, like, which one are those yours? And they said, probably.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that if you're standing at the base of your paramedic, and the body is like, say, 180 degrees, 10 feet up, and it's like 90 degrees around the pile. You don't go up here and then over the body. You go around to the base, below the body, and go straight up.
Right.
So it might have been that they traced right over the tracks.
Exactly. So that's I'm thinking that much activity in that area probably softened the indentations, and then you got these guys who first responders' job is to get to the body and help the individual. They can't be completely, they can't do, we've got to take this, secure this, no.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. Of course, I don't know if they climbed up there. They might have thought, that looks dangerous. So we'll just throw rocks. We'll just throw rocks at the body till it slides down to us. Okay.
I don't think that happened either.
Probably not. They probably did climb
Especially
up
if you think they turned him over.
Yeah, they did turn him over.
They would have had to have actually touched
climbed
him.
Up, yeah, I think so. But, and also, as far as the UFO theory goes, you remember Alan Godfrey, the policeman who was involved in the Todd Morton UFO incident?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, well, he was, as I said, also on the scene for this crime, and he's familiar with this case. He was interviewed, actually, years later about this, and he said it was, quote, a load of rubbish, referring to the UFO theory.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so even though Godfrey himself, totally believes he encountered a UFO, he's not buying into it in this particular case.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's another theory out there that I found on Reddit, of all places, which is that he had a stroke. And he had a stroke while he was shopping for groceries and just sort of wandered off in a daze. And then some good Samaritans took him in and took care of him, hoping that he'd come to his senses and that they could get him back to wherever he belonged. But then when he croaked after 5 days, they decided to get rid of the body. because apparently, even though they were good Samaritans, they weren't quite actually that good, and they wanted to avoid contact with the police. So, anyway, what do you guys think of that theory?
Well, he could have wandered away from the Good Samaritan home on his own and croaked on the... I mean, he could have saw the coal and thought, oh, I know that. Why do I know that? I'm going to climb up there and see.
It's cool. Something familiar.
Yeah.
I thought strokes tended to leave some pretty obvious signs.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'm sure since they were a little iffy in the cause of death, I'm sure they looked at his brain in the autopsy, and apparently there was no evidence of a stroke that showed up in the autopsy.
Oh, well, not that.
Well, that's the other thing I hate about this theory is I mean, seriously, you're going to find some guy who's wandering around in the days. You're not going to call the police or something? Or take him to a hospital or something?
And then even after that, when the police are like doing this investigation, you're not going to go,
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
no.
That was the guy.
Yeah, I helped him out, but he wandered off. I didn't say anything.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, not the best Reddit theory I've ever come across, but you know me, I find all the theories and plunk them in there, good or bad.
Yes, you do.
Not a good one.
What we do?
And there's a kind of similar theory, which was lightning.
No.
Yeah, I know. Similar thing, he was struck by lightning, became disoriented, and his shirt caught fire, so he took it off. His watch melted, or at least got really hot, so he took it off too. As for his wallet, I don't know what happened to that.
So his watch was hot?
Yeah. It was hot at some point, and then he wandered around for 5 days because of the lightning, mixing up his brains. And then when he finally saw that coal pile, he was like, yeah, something familiar. So he, climbed the pile because it's coal. I love coal, and he did have heart issues, actually. So if he did climb the pile, it's conceivable the exertion, caused him to have a heart attack. Nothing else about this theory makes any sense.
I was going to say, because, if a stroke leaves a whole lot of evidence, getting struck by lightning
you would think
is going to leave way more evidence on your body.
Yeah, you would think.
Especially if we're saying his watch melted. Well, not on his wrist it didn't, right?
No, it didn't leave any marks on his wrist.
And if his shirt caught on fire, surely his jacket would have been singed at least.
At the very least. His hair would have been all singed too.
Bad theory.
Yeah, so another terrible theory, the lightning one. What's another theory? He left to start a new life, but he got distracted by a coal pile and died on top of it.
He just loved coal so much.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he did. And so, I can't believe it. Well, it could have been. He's leaving to start a new life, and he's saying goodbye not just to his wife and his family, but also to coal. And, he had to go reminisce with the coal pile just a little bit longer before he left. And had a heart attack and died.
Move on.
I like this theory. That's it for this episode. Suicide? No, I'm not buying that one.
No.
There's nothing.
Yeah. Another possibility is Sigmund had a girlfriend. Supposing he wasn't as into the wedding and the whole family scene as everybody thought, maybe. And this is conceivable. I mean, there are people out there who lead double lives. So maybe he just thought, and there was a little bit of tension in the family over the wedding, frankly, I had heard. And so maybe he decided, screw this, screw these people. I'm just going to go to my girlfriend's and just hang out there for several days, and just blow the whole thing off. And then at some point, he was going to go home, but then he has this heart attack and dies. And then whoever he was staying with just says, this is going to be put the clothes on, dumped it. This might explain the shirt being gone, because I'm thinking that dressing somebody in their vest and their jacket is probably not that easy if they're dead either, but I mean, the shirt would be comparatively harder, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
So, or maybe the shirt had lipstick on it or some other kind of DNA evidence. So
the hard part about this, well, by the way, I don't remember seeing this anywhere else, but I was thinking about, people who have a thing on the side, usually they don't want to mix their two lives because it's an outlet and an escape. And by doing what you've theorized he would have done, of saying, screw it, I'm just going to hang out here the whole time and those people can just blow off. Well, that lets the genie out of the bottle. Everybody now knows that you're screwing around, and suddenly you don't get that best of both worlds that people who do this are after.
Well, that is the whole thing.
It flies in the face of why he would have, a girl on the side.
Well, exactly. That is the problem, is that if he had a girl on the side, he would have been more discreet about it. He wouldn't have gone over to her place for 5 days.
Well, here's something I will bring up, which is not a nice truth to be facing, but there are people in this world who, when faced with the serious illness of a spouse, particularly one that's potentially getting progressively worse and worse, just run away instead of staying around to take more and more care of that person. So it's possible that he'd had this girlfriend and, you know, she was fulfilling the needs that his wife wasn't anymore because she wasn't able to anymore, and was just realizing, oh my God, I can't take care of my wife anymore. And that's why he ran off, and he was intending to run off forever. It's possible.
Yeah,
it's not
possible,
likely, but it's more possible than, I mean, it helps explain why he might have gone, you know, just been okay with exposing, quote unquote, the double life, that he was just ready to leave. But again, I don't think it's a good theory.
No, it's there's not really much of anything in the way of evidence for it. I mean, you know, it does account for a few things, like the body being apparently sort of looks like the body might have been dressed by somebody else after death, maybe. So it would kind of account for that. It doesn't explain where the body turned up on top of a coal pile.
Oh no, not at all.
That's not the discreet. That's not the way I would choose to dump a body.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about like in a locked coal yard and dragging it up to the top of a coal pile, right next to some train tracks at a train station.
Well,
it's not discreet.
I guess, and the other thing for me, when we talk about all of these theories that don't have him going to the coal pile on his own, I'm willing to say, like, it would have been really easy for one set of tracks to disappear, but the set of, you know, some person dragging a body up a coal thing seems a little more like that would have been more obvious, but maybe not.
It does seem to me like most likely he got up there under his own power, because why the hell would anybody else drag somebody's dead body up to the top of the coal pile?
I still question that okay, let's just run down this alley. I don't actually think that if he was already dead when he got to the coal yard, that they necessarily had to drag him in. Because what was the guy who was running the coal yard?
Trevor Parker.
Okay, Trevor Parker's job may have been to shut and lock the gates. But Trevor Parker may not have been good at fulfilling all of his duties, and so he shut the gate. He did not, however, lock it, and therefore somebody could be like, oh yeah, that guy always shuts the gate, but he doesn't lock it. Drive your car in. It's much faster to drive your car in and drag the body into a spot. Now, maybe they're hoping that more coal comes and the body gets buried. I don't know, but you know, I can't imagine that in a yard of any size that you would want to be dragging the body that
Wasn't it 10 feet up the coal pile though?
Yeah, it was not at the bottom.
So what's the explanation
I don't have an answer to that, but
because that's the dragging.
I doubt that somebody was, you know, doing the fireman carry or the old the Agatha Christie mystery where they drag them and the heels are making lines in the dirt.
But that's the drag. I don't care about the dragging through the yard. I'm wondering about the 10 feet up a coal pile is the dragging that I feel like.
That girlfriend was a bodybuilder.
Maybe.
Who was a national shot put champion. And she threw him.
Or maybe his girlfriend was actually his boyfriend. I mean, maybe he
was a national shot put champion.
Could have been.
Yeah. I'm just saying that it seems like if you're dragging a body 10 feet up, there's going to be some significant, even with trains and all that stuff, it seems like there would be some marks.
Yeah, there would be significant marks, and there is that risk of being seen and everything. I do think the idea about coming in, you know, supposing the gates were locked, but supposing that it was one of the delivery guys, because coal was delivered to the yard, supposing if Trevor or whoever is out delivering things, the gates are locked, then maybe the delivery drivers had keys.
I thought.
And so, it might have been somebody who actually had a key to the lock.
But there was no deliveries.
Yeah, I thought
there were no deliveries. But I'm saying that if the guy...
The delivery person had a set of keys.
Has a set of keys, and he knows...
An accomplice,
And he had no... Yeah, so even though that wasn't his day to deliver, but he still had access to the yard, and so it could have been... That could have been... Still, to me... It still does not make sense as a place to dump a body.
No.
Yeah. But anyway, so we kind of got a little off track there.
We're just fleshing some stuff out there.
The theory was, the girlfriend, he died, and, I know. So, not sure. This is not a great theory. Okay. Let's move to the next one. There's another theory out there in the webs, which is an accident. Thought is that he was on the coal pile, and unbeknownst to him, the coal had started combusting. It does happen. If you had coal, it sometimes will combust deep within a pile, and you can't even tell. There's no open flames or anything like that. But deep down there, it's burning and putting out poisonous gases like carbon monoxide, etc. And when coal fires like this happen, they burn for a long time, and then eventually, if they do reach the surface, then suddenly, boosh,
they ignite.
They ignite into a big old fire. But yeah, that can actually happen with coal. And so maybe Sigmund, for whatever reason, was on the pile and inhaled carbon monoxide.